We have a few folks still trickling in here, but I think we've got the majority of participants today. So welcome, everyone. I'm Todd Holder, VP of National Business Development here at CARS. So thank you for joining the first presentation we've had for a webinar for Donate Stock. It's our new latest partnership here at CARS. And so we have a few folks joining us today on the panelist side. So I just want to make a couple quick introductions, and then we'll introduce Steve, and we'll get things rolling for you. So you have plenty of time for Steve to go through the presentation, and then Steve, Lana, and I at the end will be take questions for you. So our first guest is our guest panelist today, Jennifer Hughes from Shriners Hospital for Children. Jen is the Executive Director of Philanthropy Services there. And so she's going to join us today and do a little Q&A with Steve a little later in the presentation. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Also joining me today is my great friend and colleague, Lana Burke. Lana and I work together on both vehicle donation and real estate side, and we've also collaborated with Steve on launching our Donate Stock partnership. So Lana is Director VP of partnerships here at CARS, and so she, like many of us, wears a ton of hats. All right, she oversees a bunch of vehicle donation. She's in charge of our Restart real estate program here. So welcome, Lana.
Thank you.
And then quick introduction for Steve. So Steve is the CEO of Donate Stock. He and I and Lana and the CARS have formed a partnership, mostly born out of our relationship with Jen. So Jen was an early adopter of the Donate Stock program, and so that's kind of how we got to know and understand what Steve does. And Steve's been a great partnership for us to work, and it's one of the reasons why we've invited everyone here today to get to know the program. It's also a way that we're expanding the services that we offer through CARS to all of our partners. And so we allotted some time today just to kind of go through that program and give you some time to understand it, and then also have some questions at the end. So Steve, I'll hand it over to you, and off we go.
Thank you much. Let me share my screen. Is everything coming through okay?
Yes.
All good. Great. Everybody, such a pleasure to be here today with you and our friends at CARS and one of my favorite clients, Jennifer. So we're really excited to share with you guys ways to unlock donor wealth by making stock gifting easy and accessible for your donors and for your financial advisors, as well as for your team. So quick agenda. We're just going to walk through opportunities and challenges in stock gifting, kind of a 101, if you will, and really go through some proven keys to success, as well as a little overview of our solution. This is really intended to be more educational, not salesy. So hopefully I'll live up to that promise. We're also going to focus a Q&A with Jennifer Hughes from Shriners Children's, who's been a really great success story. And then we'll end on how to get started and have live Q&A with the team here. So as noted, the recording will be shared as well as the slides afterwards. So as it relates to stock gifts, what is your current state? You don't receive them. You receive some, you process them manually, get a lot of them that you struggle to keep up. If you're the unicorn, you get a lot and you can do it really well without any challenges. If you're a client of ours, or if you use another platform, those are the different options here, just single choice. So if you go ahead and enter your response there, and can we see the results in real time? There we go. Okay, really interesting. So almost half that have responded so far don't receive stock gifts, and then almost all the remainder receive some and process them manually. It looks like we have a few customers on here, thank you, and a few that use other platforms. So let's see, 2 of you say you receive a lot with very few challenges. So that's very interesting and exciting. Glad to see you guys have found a way to figure it out, but I'd love to get your point of view after going through this presentation as well. Okay, so pretty good, pretty almost down the middle of either don't receive any or receive a few. So let me go ahead and really preface what we're going to talk about just in the context of non-cash giving. So one of the favorite things I've heard, I didn't make it up, so I can't claim it, but that fundraisers spend 90% of the time chasing 10% of the donor's assets. We'll talk about that in terms of cash relative to other assets. Russell James, many of you all may know him, some of the groundbreaking research he did a few years back, where he looked at 5 years of 990 tax returns, and he found that the organizations, in short, that diversified, that grew non-cash giving faster than cash giving, had dramatically higher overall growth rates. They grew on average almost 5, 6 times if they were receiving non-cash gift than those that just relied only on cash and credit. So when we think about cash and non-cash, so cash is typically credit card, PayPal, ACH, checks. Non-cash might be from a DAF, stock, crypto, cars, real estate, other non-cash assets. So what he found was that not only did those that grew non-cash giving faster grew faster overall, dramatically, like 5 times faster, but they also they found that the inverse is true. When your cash giving grows faster than non-cash, it is a negative precursor for your overall results. So really interesting results. I think I'd love for him to do another update of that study. So anyway, so let's get into in stock, in the non-cash assets. Stock is the largest class out there in terms of financial assets. As mentioned earlier, about 10% of financial assets are held in people's either checking accounts or savings accounts. 90% of household wealth is in their investments, and it might be in a stock, it might be bonds, securities. It could be the donor advised fund. It could be other assets that they've invested in, but this is where most of their wealth is, where they have the most from which to give. It's also, when we're talking about stocks specifically, the most tax advantage way for donors to support your cause. Not only do they get the charitable deduction, but the big bonus, if you will, for a stock donor is if I sell my stock, if I want to sell, let's say $10,000 of stock to give that to you, my brokerage is going to deduct the capital gains tax. So if I bought Apple 10 years ago and it's increased 5x since then, so I invested it for 2,000. Now it's worth 10,000. If I sell it, I'm going to pay tax on that $8,000 gain. So if my tax rate is around 25%, depending on what state I'm in, it can be considerably higher. I'm going to pay a couple $1,000s. That means there's 2,000 less that I have to give you. Whereas if I donate the stock directly to you or through a 501c3 intermediary, I don't have to pay the capital gains tax. You don't, because you're tax exempt, and you get the full $10,000 gift. So I avoid the $2,000 tax, and I get to deduct a $3,000 gift, roughly. Could be, again, a lot more, especially if you're in one of the blue states. Then, so I get a much bigger tax advantage when I donate my stock to you than when I donate cash or any other after-tax gift. So this is still, I think, the best kept secret in personal finance. A lot of donors are not aware of the benefits. Again, that's part of the opportunity that we have. Another interesting, few data points. One is the average gift last year, if you normalize it, excluding the really big ones and the really, really small ones, was about $7,500. And that was up 40% over the previous year. I'll tell you, this year, we're trending closer to 10,000. The market is up. People, again, they're looking at what they have in their portfolio. Where did they remember they paid $10 for NVIDIA shares 5 years ago. Today, it's worth $183. In their mind, like, this gift cost me, $500, but it's now worth $9,000, and I can give that to you. So they're giving much larger gifts. What's also interesting is the correlation between stock gifting and recurring giving. Last year, we saw over a third of donors from the previous year gave 50% more than in the previous year. So that's double the average for national retention is around 17, 18% right now in terms of recurring giving. So it's more than 2x. And again, that's across all of our customers. So some are really good at engaging their customers about recurring giving, others not so good. So if you're actually one of these organizations that stresses that, you're going to do even much better. But they're given so much more now, because once they've said, okay, you get my stock, you can differentiate from all the other people asking them for funding by the assets that you're providing them. We also found that the average donor gave on average almost 15,000 last year, double what they gave, and we're seeing that's even higher this year. And another interesting stat that GoFundMe Pro put out is that the recurring donors are 9 times more valuable than one-time donors. So again, recurring giving, when you think about how do we get more funding from our existing donor base. It's helping them make larger pre-tax gifts that are more tax advantaged and putting them on the path to more recurring gifts. There are challenges, as many of you know. Those of you that have tried to process stock gifts on your own have run into a couple issues. One is complicated. It's hard for the donors. This was my experience 15 years ago when I tried to make a stock gift. It took me several hours over 3 days. It just wasn't worth the hassle. And that was actually ultimately why we started this company, realizing in 2020 that no one had made stock gifting easy. So it's a hassle for donors. It's time consuming for financial advisors. They don't like to do it. They'll do it if asked. And then for our gift processors and donor relations team, it's also challenging. So there's just a lot of challenges with the ability to really scale stock gifting. Another thing I'll mention here that people may or may not be aware of is that when you get stock from a donor who's gotten your brokerage information, their identity does not accompany the stock. So if a lot of people are sending in the same stock to you, it's really hard to know whose is whose. A lot of times people assume that it's from them because they filled out some paperwork for their brokerage. So they don't even think to tell you that they sent because they assume, just like if I sent you a check, you can see it's from me. Unfortunately, it's not like that, and that's not how the securities transfers work. So it can make it really challenging. One question I'll ask Jen is about mystery gifts. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the customer point of view, but these are all the things that have made it really hard to scale. Consequently, stock gifting has generally been a 1% solution. The biggest donors who kind of tell you this is how I need to give to you, and you accommodate that, but it rarely have organizations been able to scale it on their own. The good news is this has been solved, and I'll walk you through the keys to success. So the first thing is meet the donor where they are. Make it easy for them to give what they want, how they want, when they want. This is the old way of giving stock. This is what I went through. It took hours just to understand the process and have to go do the research and talk to my brokerage, talk to the nonprofit. Again, it was a lot of, it was a very, just a pain. I just really did not enjoy the process. And if it's not a fun, enjoyable process, you're not going to do it again. So this is just a terrible way to ask people to support your cause, filling out forms for you, for the broker, no transparency, no visibility of what's happening. And most are going to say it's just not worth the time and the effort. Next is make it easy for financial advisors. People don't think about them as much in the giving equation, but they comprise half of all the gifts that we're processing this year because they are doing it on behalf of their client, and they have a different approach. They're not filling out forms for their client and submitting those. They're actually getting information because they're going to enter transfer instructions internally. So this is typically the path that they have to go through. Again, I'm not going to walk you through all these steps. But when you talk to advisors about stock gifting, the response is it takes a lot of time. We don't get paid for it. So we'll do it as a courtesy, but we're not really recommending it because it's just something that we don't know how to scale. So these are challenging process for them. Don't make it difficult for them. And then for your team, manual gift reconciliation is just a pain. Every gift, someone from advancement or development, someone from donor relations, gift processing, finance, 3-4 people often have to touch every single stock gift. You think about how much time it takes, and that's if you know who the donor is. It's still 2-3+ hours to process every gift if you add all of the hours of all the people touching each gift. Again, exacerbated by the fact that the donor's identity is not included. So you get these mystery gifts where someone sent stock into you, did not tell you what they sent you, and now you have a $20,000 gift that somebody is waiting to be thanked for, and they're waiting to be acknowledged, and you tell them about the impact they're going to have, and you don't even know who it is. And so it creates a bit of a nightmare for donor relations teams because they don't know who to go, where to direct their stewardship. So again, this is a bad practice that I would highly recommend. No matter what you do, find a solution to automate this. This is made harder. This is interesting. These are 3 stocks last year comprised half of all gifts. So again, one of the challenges is if you have one brokerage account, you have 5 people sending you shares of NVIDIA or Apple or Tesla, and they say, "Did you get my NVIDIA shares?" The answer is, "We got a bunch of NVIDIA stock. We don't know whose is whose. We're still trying to sort it out." As a donor, that's not very comforting to me. It kind of makes me question, is my stock at risk? Do I need to go find out what happened to it? If you can't tell me yes or no, we got it immediately. So again, these are the challenges that have made stock gifting really hard. So Key number 4, and this is something that we talked to all of our clients about, is please take off your brokerage details, account information off your website. It's a really bad practice. One, it invites a bunch of mystery gifts. If someone wants to make a multi-thousand-dollar stock gift to you, they're going to tell you who they are. They're going to reach out to you. Given that information without requiring them to tell you who they are just invites these mystery gifts. And that sets you up for a really difficult conversation with your donor when 6 months later you haven't acknowledged it and they finally reach out frustrated just asking for receipt. So it's a bad experience for them. It's a bad experience for you and your team. It makes it really hard to turn those into recurring gifts because they just didn't have a very pleasant experience. There's also even a bigger risk, which is the cyber attacks these days and phishing scams are getting incredibly elaborate. If somebody has your brokerage information, they can use that information to social engineer and get somebody in your organization to share some knowledge they shouldn't share. And that's what leads to cyber attacks to what can be really devastating for you and your team and ultimately your organization. Lastly, you have to remember you can't just put some information on your website. You've got to make it prominent. You've got to put it in their face. You've got to let them know, hey, there are other ways to give. Thank you. Appreciate your giving from a credit card, but do you have a donor advised fund? Do you have stock? Do you have crypto? Do you have a car? Do you have real estate? Have you inherited some property that you don't know what to do with? Those are all things that we can take as gifts. So you want to make other ways to give, not just something you talk about when they ask, but something you're being very proactive about and explain to them there's some really much more tax advantage ways for you to support us. If you have these assets, we'd love to talk to you about how you can make them have much greater impact and save a lot more on taxes. Normally, people are pretty interested in that conversation. And if you're the one helping them understand that there are more tax advantage, smarter ways for them to support you, with that comes some, appreciation, which then shows up in terms of longer retention, more recurring gifts, becoming a much more valuable donor. Here's a few tips on how to do this. By the way, as you sign up for, I saw a few new customers that were in here. We walk you through the strategy sessions and the playbooks and how to do this. So you don't have to figure this out. That's the good news. We will show you the playbook. We'll show you best practices with organizations like Shriners and World Central Kitchen that are doing it right and doing really well. So you can leverage the best practices that everyone's been figuring out. So let's talk about what we do to make it easier. Again, trying to be educational, not salesy, but it starts with a great donor experience. If you make it fast and easy and a fun, pleasant experience for the donor, replace all the paperwork with a PayPal-like experience where in just a few minutes they can initiate that gift online. It's a benevolent exercise. It's fun, and giving them transparency and so they can see where their gift is and get immediate notification when it's been received and reconciled. Get the receipt to them the day that the stock is received. Those are the things that result in a great donor experience, which begets more recurring gifts. We also then provide a software platform that removes a lot of the manual work, just automates processes that you have to do manually today. So, with technology, we can do it better, faster, more efficiently, ultimately cheaper. And for most nonprofits, we actually process their gifts for them. So if you have a brokerage account, you're welcome to send the stock to your account where you can reconcile it and acknowledge it. We have dashboards that will help make that much easier. But what our customers have found out is that we can do this, frankly, better, faster, more efficiently, and automate it using software and technology versus what they used to have to do with spreadsheets and asking around inside the organization to figure out whose stock is whose. So we can run that through our 501(c)(3) for you. It acts like a donor advised fund. I'll show you in a couple of minutes how this works. But this is again another huge leverage point for you. And then enablement and support. We want to get you up and running quickly, educating your donors on ways to support you and your board. We'll give you the strategy, the playbook, all the content you need to educate your donors, as well as live support. One of the things I think that if you ask our customers, we found it's just really important when a donor has a question about stock gifting, you probably know as little as they do about the process, and it's intimidating, it's daunting. We're there to support. We service the donors directly. If the nonprofit clients have questions, if financial advisors do, we are really the go-to persons, and our job is to make sure they have the knowledge and the information they need, explain it to them, help them if there's an issue with it, get that gift through and make it successful, make sure everyone has as good of experience as possible, again, to set you up for success. I mean, every gift matters. Small gifts can be preceded or followed by larger gifts later. Jen and I will talk about one of those situations in a minute. But every gift matters, and you've got to make sure it's a great experience for each donor and advisor. And if you do that well, everything starts, you get a flywheel going, and you're going to get a lot more stock gifts. So the support and the servicing is really critical. Let me talk about pricing real quick. This is the first question we get, so I'll preempt it. So one of the things that also makes us unique is we just say you don't have to pay an upfront fee or commit to a fixed fee. You can get started with just a straight transaction fee. It starts at 3.9%, goes down based on your scale. But it's generally, if you think about what you're paying in platform fees, merchant processing fees, most of our customers are paying anywhere from 4 to 6% all in for credit card fees. If you're talking about Facebook fundraisers, you're looking at 6 to 8% transaction fees. We're at 3.9 or less, and we're solving the hardest one. And frankly, we have to do the most work because a lot of times, probably one in 6, 1 in 7 gifts require some manual assistance to the nonprofits. So we're solving the hardest problem and doing it at a very cost-effective way. And the beauty is, like, we don't get paid if you don't get gifts. So we're highly aligned with you, which is really, I love being that as a vendor or a partner. Is like, we don't make money unless you do. Really similar to the cars model. It's one of the reasons why we all work together so well. I think our ethos is very much first and foremost, let's help our nonprofit customers, our partners have success. If we do that well, we're going to make a good living and everybody wins. So let me walk you through kind of the process. There's a couple, like 2 screens missing here, but effectively we've replaced hours of research and paperwork and communications and emails and faxes and dropping things off at your brokerage with a process takes maybe 5 minutes to make your first stock gift. This is kind of a couple of the key screenshots. They enter the securities they want to donate, tell us how many shares. We show them the current price so they can see the value of the gift. They can designate the gift to an unlimited number of different designations or funds or locations, if you will, like Shriners, where people can choose, I want to give it to the Oregon facility, whatever it might be, or to your capital campaign or where it's needed most, however you set that up. That's all up to you. Special instructions, we allow them to tell us if they are either anonymous or just don't want to have their name published. So we try to make it really easy for them to give what they want, the way they want in just a few minutes. It just takes, like, literally first gift 5 to 6 minutes. Each subsequent gift, once they've entered their brokerage information with us, it takes about 1 to 2 minutes. A couple important things is we don't ask for login credentials or username or password of the brokerage account. They're not going to give it to you, so there's no reason to ask for it. What we just ask for is information that will be on the front of a check, account name, account number. Just like when you send someone a check, it's the same information that you're exposing. And we use that to basically save them a lot of time in processing the gifts. I'll kind of show you how the flow works in a second. I mentioned financial advisors. They are really important stakeholders in charitable giving. I mean, they're becoming more and more important in the process. So for them, we've replaced historically them having to send you an email, request your transfer instructions, let you know what they're sending, what securities and how many shares they're sending you, confirm that you got the stock, ask you for the receipt so they can give it back to the client. Again, donors I don't think they understand how much time it takes for their advisors to do this for them. So we've replaced that with a really easy 60-second process, maybe 2 minutes. They basically tell us what stock or securities. This also could be mutual funds or ETFs, so it's not just stocks. What securities they're sending us, who they are, what brokerage they're with. If they can provide the donor's information now, that's great. They may not be able to. They may need to go get written permission from the donor before they can share that. But we get the information we need to give them the instructions right now to transfer the shares, to go do what they have to do to initiate that stock transfer internally. So they don't have to contact you and let you know what they're sending. We're going to do that. They don't have to ask us to get the stock. We're going to let them know. If the stock doesn't arrive, we're going to follow up with them and find out, what the delay is on it. We'll send them a receipt to give to their donor, to their client. So we've replaced for them hour plus work with literally a 2-minute experience. Again, this is why we've seen now so many gifts coming from advisors, because it's a huge time saver for them. So here's what happens. People kind of wonder what happens behind the curtain. So after the donor provides the information, or the advisor does, we send the instructions to the donor's broker, instructing them to send the shares either to our 501c3 which again is the norm. Probably 90-95% of all transactions we process, we receive the stock, we sell it, we reconcile the gift, we acknowledge the donor, we send them a receipt the day the stock comes in. Or you can have it sent to your brokerage account. And you can do the same work. Doesn't matter to us. We can do this for you at no incremental cost. We'll then liquidate that, convert it to cash, notify you, and send you the cash proceeds. So our clients, and again, great question for Jen to ask her, even those that brokerage accounts, what's the value of using someone like us? It's because you don't have to do all this painstaking manual work. We'll do it for you. Like I said, we do it with software. We can do it better, faster, more efficiently. It results in a better donor experience, higher likelihood of making subsequent gifts. So with that, Todd, you want to introduce Jen?
I have to unmute first, but I will.
What's that?
I have to unmute first, but I will. So again, yeah, welcome to Jen. Jen Hughes is our Executive Director of Philanthropy for Shriners Children's. Jen and her team has worked with CAR since 2019. They utilize both our vehicle donation and real estate services. Obviously a fantastic partner. And so we really appreciate Jen jumping on here today and sharing her experience about working with Steve. And so I mentioned in the opening, this is a fantastic partnership for us. And as Steve mentioned, what he does really aligns with everything that we do here at CARS, which is turnkey, a tremendous amount of customer experience and donor experience that just makes the process easy. And we really believe in what Steve's doing, and that's one of the reasons why we created this partnership. So, Jen, welcome, and Steve has a few questions for you, and we'll hopefully get some answers out to the folks who've attended today, and just understand why you guys have chosen to work with Donate Stock and the benefits of using it for your organization.
Well, thank you, Todd. I feel like a superstar, so I really appreciate
You should.
that great intro. Very much so. I'm delighted to be here because we have been a collaborative partner with Donate Stock since November of 2023. In that time, I feel like Steve and I are really kindred spirits, as well as his VP of Customer Success, Doug Hooten, who really also helps with anything that I need in regards to questions answered. Making me look smart in front of my people is very important, and I think that Steve and Doug do a really great job of helping me do that. So, Steve, did you want me to start, or you want to ask?
Please feel free. Yeah. Share your view.
Yeah. So stock gifting isn't really new to Shriners Children's. Those of you that are familiar with us, that we're over 100 years philanthropy and the healthcare system that we have. For us in November of 2023, it was really a convergence of efficiency of process, meaning that we really had to consider how much time we were processing tax receipts, how much time we were processing gifts internally. And by a step-by-step process over 5 years, one of the things that we did starting in 2019 is we centralized all data entry for our locations in the United States with 17 of those locations. The next step was tax receipting, and how were we going to centralize the tax receipting process to make it timely, but at the same time efficient. Part of that tax receipting process that took so much time for us was stock gifts. We got them to a central static Charles Schwab account. We had to figure out who they belonged to. Usually it was by, those people that would have to call us 60 or 90 days later saying that they did not get their tax receipt yet. And so it kind of created that really, issue of how do we better work with these types of donors. Steve had a solution, offered it to Shriners Children's. We really jumped on that in November of 2023 and have seen growth and success of the program since then. We do know and have talked with Steve and team about it, having that static Charles Schwab account, and we've used that same one for decades. So our challenge is having the widget on the website is wonderful, but we having to guide people there. We're really having to guide people to the widget to use it, as well as the form, so that we know we're getting them away from using the older static Charles Schwab account that belongs to us and using the widget, which is really proactive, easy, in about 2 minutes in order for either the donor to complete or the financial advisor. So that was our crux of our problem with the tax receipting. Steve had that solution, brought that to us, and we've really had a lot of success in gifts all the way from $5,000 all the way up to close to $1 million in a couple of different stock gifts that we've had. Steve, any
Yeah,
comments?
yeah. I was going to say, I think you guys are a great example of, a large organization that like you move slowly, and those are your words, the shrine time. Just echoing back what I heard. But it's great to see organizations, embrace innovation, embrace new ways to do things, and always thinking, how do we get better? How do we become more efficient so we can spend more of our resources, pursuing our mission and doing stewardship. So for us, it's really been a pleasure working with you and your team, and we love having those that challenges. We view Shriners as a development partner. Like, we actually kind of pioneered a new product together. They really helped us really understand that advisors had a different needs and we needed to have a different approach to them. So the advisor forum I was showing you really came out of just how do we collaboratively, solve this problem and make it easier for financial advisors who are such important stakeholders. You treat them well, make it easy for them. It will pay off dividends for years. So, I guess a few questions, Jen. When you guys were, going through this transition, it's one thing to put a widget on the site, right? The next part is, how do we get our gift officers
Mhm.
thinking about how to, how to be more proactive? Because I think, and I've never asked you this question, but we see this a lot where a lot of times someone had a bad experience with stock gifting in the past and they don't really want to bring it up. Like, if someone asks them, like, sure, we can accept a stock gift, but I don't understand it. I can't answer all the questions about it. So I might be a little hesitant to recommend it. And did you, how have you guys addressed that, and in terms of interacting, engaging, training your gift officers and your frontline team, et cetera? Any thoughts there would be really helpful, because I think that change management is so important.
So I think the playbook that Donate Stock provides really helps with that, as well as the examples of how you can present to your particular donor that might have assets of this type that they would like to give and how beneficial it is. Many donors don't often connect stock with something that they could, avoid capital gains in donating to. So having that example, what we did is small postcards, like for our fundraisers, with the example on one side, and then the how to get to our stock site, Shriners Children's /stock, to do that. And so we gave them those resources. They looked at your playbook. We did a few learning sessions with you and your team in the beginning, which helped fundraisers as well. We impress in our training to them is that the beauty of Donate Stock is the receipting, the donor services that are provided, meaning that you connect to that financial advisor. Your representative from your customer support team connects to the financial advisor either by email or by phone, or you connect to the actual donor within a 2-hour window for and business operating hours, which is really important to getting back to them with the information so that they can have the unique DTC number identifier that you give them in order to donate the stock. The other thing that I found very beneficial in working with Donate Stock is that there are some special situations in stock, and all of us are not well versed as Donate Stock is. This is their market. This is what they do. In regards to certain mutual funds can't be accepted by Charles Schwab, right? You have to create your own account with that mutual fund in order to transfer the funds over from one mutual fund account to the other. And Donate Stock Steve was willing to really help us with that situation a couple of years ago, in order to do that, because our finance and accounting department does not particularly like to open different mutual fund accounts kind of over and over and over again at different mutual funds to accept these types of gifts. So we found that the Donate Stock team really helps us with problem solving. Another example is, Steve, remember I called you. I had that financial advisor from Raymond James who didn't understand what we were trying to tell him, and the fact that to use the widget on the site, how to use that. I was able to text with Steve almost right away, and he was able to talk to that financial advisor, speak that language, and help him understand that he had to initiate the transfer on behalf of his client, that we as a nonprofit entity cannot ask for that transfer to come over from their client. So that was one of those situations where Steve kind of came to the rescue. And because I had been talking back and forth with the same financial advisor for 4 times, saying the same type of information and message. So problem solving, I think Steve, you and your team are great at, and really working with us to get those special situations taken care of.
Well, thank you. It's an honor and a privilege, and appreciate you actually making the introduction to cars. That was, I don't know if that was clarified on the front end, but Jennifer, one day she's like, you should talk to cars. You guys do the same thing, the same approach, but different assets. And that's really what led to our partnership. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
For sake of time, I want to leave plenty of time. I think we're gonna have a lot of Q&A, and Jen, there'll probably be some questions for you as well. So may kind of, we have a couple, just a recap slide, then we'll go to the Q&A if that's cool with you guys. Unless there's anything else that you want to share before we dive in.
We're good?
No, I'm
Yeah.
good.
Okay. All right. So here's the summary. Stock, it's 1% for most orgs. It should be 5, 10, 15%. If you keep in mind, all of your major donors own stock. Pretty much all of them. Most of your mid-level donors own stock. Today, over 100 million households in the US own appreciated securities. You've seen democratization of stock. Even Stuart Sullivan, Shriners talks about this, how 30 years ago, you had to have a financial advisor, you had to have a broker to actually buy and sell stocks. Now, everybody has a trading account. Everybody can participate in this incredible bull market we've had over the last 25 years and creation of value in terms of equities. There's trillions of dollars in unrealized gains that people can share with you if you invite them and make it easy. So that's really our mission, is like, let's make stock not the one-off for the wealthy people, but something everybody does who has a brokerage account, because it's so much more tax advantage. And to democratize and level the playing field, every small nonprofit gets exact same tool set and capabilities that Shriners gets. Every small donor gets exact same treatment that even the big ones get. So it really is a new world in terms of leveling the field for everybody to succeed. So this is really why we exist and what we're here to do. Again, we'll share this afterwards, so these links will be available. But if you're new to stock gifting, we try to provide some pretty in-depth educational resources on our site. So you can go to donatestock.com and then click on For Nonprofits. We have a resource page here that, again, this link will be available. We open it up even if you're not a customer. You can at least see what we arm you with. It's wide open there for everybody. And then if you're a Cars customer, we actually have a page on the Cars site. We'll include this as a link to learn more about the partnership and how to get started. We'll like to have you visit there, because then we know that you're a Cars customer, and we can tag you as such and give you a higher level of support as a result. And if you have any questions, just email cars@donatestock.com. So with that, like I say, we want to help you and your donors put stock in something that matters, and help you unlock stock giving. So we can, I'll take off the screen share and we can go into the Q&A.
Okay, so we did get a couple of really good questions here, and that can kind of help add to some of the information that you all have shared today. For one, so we do have a couple of organizations that already take stock donations, and want to know what is the benefit of using the service when they already do it, in particular for a small local organization.
I'd love for Jennifer to ask. I don't want to put her on the spot, but they've been receiving stock gifts for probably decades. I think she could probably speak to, if you have a brokerage account, why would you need us?
It's actually for the processing time, the human resource piece of what that takes. With Donate Stock, the tax receipt is manufactured within a day, even less, once it's sold and confirmed. And so for us, that is a true benefit, as well as it does estimate the price of the stock when it was sold for the day. So it does give or transferred for the day. So that is a big help because we internally have a little bit of a legal angle where they don't like us to value the stock. So we only in our internal acknowledgments were able to put the ticker symbol and the number of shares. And sometimes that was not a great donor experience that they appreciated, that our donors appreciated, whereas Donate Stock does that for us. And they have that tax receipt within a very shorter time period or window than what we could perform. Also, it releases our staff from having to do those types of tax receipts manually because we have shifted to a centralized tax receipting option where it's much faster and more automated. And we don't do that function in-house, but these specific types of receipts would require our people to do that. And by using Donate Stock, that releases that human resource factor of having to produce.
I would, the only thing I would add to that is it's about growing stock gifting. Again, the donor experience, if you're asking them to do it the old-fashioned way, only the largest donors are going to do that. No one's going to do that for a $2,000 gift. It's just too much work. So here's, I can give you $500 for my credit card or $2,500 for my in stock. But if you make it difficult, I'm just, we kind of have this Amazon expectation now. Like everything's got to be really super easy, super intuitive. And if it's not, I just can't be bothered. And I think that's kind of a mindset you have to think about the donors. Everybody's time starved, attention overwhelmed. Like they need things to be easy, efficient, intuitive. So it's how you grow it by making it easier for your donors to support you, and then getting them in the habit. Because again, once they've made that first one, the subsequent gifts are 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. It's so easy for them to then share more of their gains with you. And that's really, if every year they have to go through that same process of filling out paperwork and coordinate with their broker and coordinate with you, they just won't do it. So unless it's, again, really, really big, and that's more the tax-driven donor, we want to help you get more of the people who are really about sharing their gains with you. Even if they don't itemize their deduction, I get this question a lot. It doesn't matter. The capital gains tax that they avoid paying when they give you the stock instead of selling it, it pays, it's a huge tax savings for them, even if they're not itemizing the gift. So it's still a win-win on either way, as long as you make it easy for them.
I would tag on to that. The way of growing this program as well is, I mean, we have the same static QR code that we use that donates back to the stock page, right? It's we have many donors that find it naturally grassroots while they're just searching ways to give. But we do buck slips and other things in order to grow the program even more. It's part of our direct mail pieces as well.
Okay. Hopefully we got that one okay. If there's any follow-ups to that, please let us know. Let's see, what other ones do we have here? Outreach cultivation strategies. That's a really good question from Emily. This is so important. Same with cars, I'm sure. If you're not letting your donors know there are all these other alternatives, they're going to do what we've all been doing for the last 25 years. We go to your website, we hit the donate button in the upper right, and we're immediately in your credit card form or credit or ACH. And we're thinking, don't want to give you 100, 250, 500, I don't know. They're not even thinking about giving you $5,000 in stock because you have not introduced that as a possibility or an option. They might have a multi-million-dollar portfolio, and where to give you 10 grand out of their portfolio, that's nothing. Literally, it's a rounding error. Their portfolio changes in value that much every minute. They can easily give that to you. You're asking them to put $500 on a credit card. They're like, okay, I got it. What other expenses do we have, or more than that? If you want me to give a couple $1,000s, like that's a capital budgeting thing for our family. So it's a very different perspective. So I think that's so important that you're proactive in educating them, and you can't just tell somebody once and change behavior. Has anyone changed their behavior by hearing something once? No, you have to hear it over and over. The old rule of thumb in advertising, you have to tell somebody 7 times for it to actually resonate and sink in with them. So you need the frequency and the repetition and some recency when you're engaging them. So making that part of your core message. And we're not even advocating you just say stock gifting. It should be about assets, helping your donors think about other ways to give. So in fact, a broad message like, hey, do you know there's all these other ways to support us? And that needs to be part of your core boilerplate messaging. And if they can't give assets, great. Take it. We're happy to take a credit card or an ACH gift. I assume, that I think that's been part of CAR's success as well as the enablement, the marketing, helping you educate your donors on other ways they can support you. So on that, Lana, Todd, if you guys want to contribute to that one, I think this is a universal non-cash giving fundraising question. Anything you found that's worked really well for your clients, please share.
Yeah, I think in general, like we have a great, strategy with all of our partners to use both vehicle donation and real estate. We have a best practices, model that we follow, which is sort of a combination of email and social media and, some of the templated assets that we have through, content portal. And so we try to, help partners create a plan, usually on either a 6-month or an annual basis to mix in the pieces of those, marketing parts with our teams. And so we expect, to kind of have the same sort of experience, right? So it is literally some of the same modeling that we do. If you have a vehicle donation program and Jen knows, right? You got to be in front of folks, 12 months a year, right? So it's a little seasonal. And so, you got to be really aggressive in the spring, and then, the summer's nice and consistent. And then there's the end of the year giving rush, right? We're kind of, everybody's grabbing for a little bit of everything. So we try to, do a good job to plan all those things out. So this fits very well with what we currently do with other non-cash giving assets. So I think, at least with us and working with us and Steve, we can certainly help implement this part of your fundraising into an existing plan that you might have and mix it very well with what you might have available for both vehicle donation and real estate.
There's a question I just answered here. I know we're getting short on time, just popping through these about, I just answered it and typed it, but it was about really clarification on the capital gains tax. And the donor benefits from if I bought NVIDIA at $10 a share 5 years ago, if I sell that today at $180 a share, I'm going to pay tax on 170. And if I'm in California, it could be 35%. So it could really, I mean, 5,000, I end up paying $50 per share tax on that. So what I would the benefit of routing it either directly to your 501c3 or through us is when we sell it or you sell it, we don't receive it. We have to pay a capital gains tax on it. The donor doesn't. We don't have to because the 501c3s are tax exempt. When I say we, I talk about our 501c3 donate stock charitable. It functions effectively like a donor advised fund. So for again 95%, we will receive the stock. We'll sell the stock. We'll acknowledge the donor and send you the cash proceeds. That also makes it easier for you from a processing standpoint because you don't have to account for a stock gift. We're like a donor advised fund sending you a cash grant or a cash contribution via ACH. So on the 990 tax return, we will show the stock gift. Our 501c3 will show the stock gift being received from the donor, but we made a grant to you for that after the deducting the fees, sending you the net proceeds. And so you're just going to see on your 990, you show donate stock charitable as the donor that gave. Now you have the donor's information, their name, email, phone, address, so you can go thank them and give them soft credit for it, but you don't have to mess with all the hassle of accounting for and receiving a tax gift. Back to what Jen was talking about earlier. Hopefully that's clear. Let's see here. Your finance team loves processing stock gifts. I would say there's probably higher value added things they could do than manually reconciling gifts for you. They might love selling a stock, but you could say like your brokers charge you a fee. Numerous people are having to touch that gift. It's actually more costly in most cases. If you imagine like a $2,000 gift, our fee on that is what, $68? You're going to spend 3-4 times that just processing that gift and doing the receipt and all the manual work if you think about how many people have to touch it. So I would ask your finance team, actually, here's how I would position it. sign up, let's start sending more gifts to them. And when they realize that there are limitations on how many of these they can do at a given time, and they might do 1 or 2 here pretty easily, no big deal, but they can't do 20 or 30 at a time. And if that's the volume that starts ramping, then they're going to ask for relief and support, and that's where we could then take it over for you and start running through our platform, through our 501(c)(3). You can sign up, receive the stock, and then switch over time. Again, same cost. We can do the work for you, or your finance team can do it yourself. Let's see. Yeah, let me, and Albert, thank you for asking this question. We have a small organization. How does this work for us? The small orgs actually have ability to have much higher percentage coming from you don't have the big retail base that like a Shriners might, so you actually have a bigger opportunity to get higher relative outcomes or relative percentage of proceeds from stock or securities or non-cash giving in general than the smaller ones. If you're educating your donors, you normally have a much more intimate relationship with, and you know who has, if they're donating $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in cash every year, they probably own appreciated securities, and you can have that conversation with them. So again, you don't have to get a brokerage account. That's another big benefit. In fact, if you're a small charity under maybe $1 million budget, it's really hard to get a brokerage account. You don't need that with us. Because again, we can route the stock through our 501(c)(3, sell it, send you the cash. So you can show them a more tax advantage way for them to support you that just takes a few minutes. It's really easy. You're going to get larger gifts, but you don't have to touch the stock. You don't have to deal with it. And so you can really become, really much more focused on your mission, your stewardship, and align, enlisting your donors in your mission. And I think talking to them about the impact that they're able to have with that larger gift definitely outweighs is a lot more valuable use of your time than having to slog through a manual process. So hopefully that answers your question. But again, Albert, everybody gets the same product, same platform, and the same efficiency and the same opportunity to scale. Let's see. Circe's asking about a copy of the transcript. Yeah, Todd got that. So I'll turn back to Lana. Todd or Jenny, anything we haven't talked about? I would love to tell one great success story. I just remembered I was going to tell it earlier. So I guess it was last year. We saw a modest gift come in. I don't know, it was like $800 or something like that from a donor. Went through fine. There's nothing really eyebrow raising about that. A week later, that same donor made a $1 million gift, and it came through. And on these large ones, we actually verify those with the donors before we send it to the brokerage. We do some QA on those. Anything over like 25 grand, we're typically putting some manual eyes on it, and then found out it was a great story. Actually, was the one kind of who called the donor to find out, is this a legit gift? It was a wonderful story. It was a man in his 90s who had been a client at a patient at Shriners. He said in the 1930s. So this is last year. So I was doing the math in my head real quick. It's like, it's a really old guy, but he was so grateful and talked about how he was the grateful patient 90 years later. That was what a great story it was, how Shriners had helped him as a child, and so he was giving away his entire estate and did that small test gift, and then that turned into a really big one. So that's why I say every gift matters, every donor experience matters, because you never know what's behind that. But I always love that story. It's one of my favorites.
Well, and that means a lot, though, Steve, because your grandfather was a Shriner.
He was, yes.
For you to
I'm
make that impact.
Positively conflicted on multiple levels here. Yeah, my grandfather's a Shriner. I grew up going to shrine parades, so kind of funny now be able to partner with them and help them really expand their mission.
That's awesome. And then for any questions that are left over, will you be answering those after either in the chat or I think there's some additional
and any question you have, just send it to cars@donatesstock.com. That's for our Cars customers. That is your dedicated email address. So if you have any questions, go to our site. There's a lot of content and information out there, but also, we're happy to answer any one-off questions you have.
Okay. Right. Yeah, there's the two places there, or there is also the donatesstock.com site. But if you're a Cars customer, please come through the cars@donatesstock.com email address. That way we can route all of those questions and get it to Steve and get answers back to you as soon as possible. So Thanks everyone today for attending. Thank you, Steve, Jen with Shriners, Lana, everyone. And if you do have questions, again, there's a couple spots where you can reach back out to us. We'll be happy to get answers to you and follow up just as quick as we can. All right.
Thank you all, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks,
Okay.
Cars people. Appreciate you.
All right.
You
Thanks.
too.
Bye.
Bye.